to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Slinger.
Yes, I am. Welcome, everybody. Trevor, I think we're going to Greenland. That's right.
Well, I'm going to Pearl Harbor.
What are we talking about? We're talking about...
What 3 words?
What3words.com. This is where we now get our random prompts from, since our other random word generator...
Haven't even checked it today.
That's
how much working. I don't believe that it's actually working.
Yep. So what we do on this show is we take random words and we turn them into game designs. We will use them as inspiration, discuss the designs, come up with something funny or interesting or fun, see what happens, and then when we're done with it, we'll do another one for about an hour. So join us.
Yes. Well, we'll go for a little bit longer and then we cut it down and it ends up about an hour.
Yeah, we cut out the shit ones. So let's do it.
Tornado, crackles, gels.
Tornado, crackles, gels.
Yes.
So when you said crackles, I thought of rice bubbles. I'm not sure how that goes with the other ones.
Well, I'm just thinking of all the different things that you throw into a tornado. Ooh, okay. You know how, like, a tornado itself, like, if you just saw wind moving around...
Yeah. It'd be invisible.
It'd be invisible. So you've got to add things into the tornadoes to actually be able to find them and be able to detect them. Because it turns out that in this world, until you actually add some substance to it, like, tornadoes are literally the silent killers.
Well, I like that as a general thing of a physics-based or particle physics-based system where, yes, you're like throwing stuff or spraying stuff into wind streams and that's the only way you can know where they are. And yes, obviously that can include tornadoes, but it might also just be, wind currents between buildings or other sorts of things there as well. The different eddies and different currents.
I'm picturing that you've got like an air conditioning duct and you throw some stuff up into it and you want to find out where that current's actually exiting out of the room, because then you know that's where there's a secret door and we can get out through there.
Yeah, so I think a game where a lot of the mechanics are around following or finding or discovering the way wind is moving or air is moving by the things it moves. And so, yeah, initially it might just be like, oh, I found a bucket of ping pong balls, so I can get through this area safely by throwing them in strategic spots and seeing, there's a huge current going in that particular direction. Maybe this is some sort of world where, for whatever reason, like, the wind spirits have become hostile, or something like that.
Okay, I'm picturing VR because I just want to be able to reach down into a bag and, like, throw, like, a handful of stuff up into the air.
That's definitely a cool movement, yeah, for VR. I could go with that.
Ooh, I'm just imagining that you pull out, like, a gel and you crush it in your hand and then throw it up, and it's like it's created like a
cloud of
fine powder sort of thing.
Yeah. I think you don't get those until later in the game, though. Like, I feel like when you start off, you have to use things that are a bit more primitive and maybe aren't going to show you, as thorough or as clear a picture of those wind currents.
Yeah, at first you go over to the table where there's like a lot of dust and you got to sort of collate it into a pile, pick up the thing of dust and throw it up into the air.
Well, again, I'm also just thinking like individual objects and that sort of thing. Like you throw
a trophy in the air and it's just
yeah. Well, no, that's launches, it. Like,
and you go, why couldn't I just put my finger up and feel where the air current was?
No, because these air currents are so strong that they'll like tear your finger off. So you're literally having to avoid. Avoid. Sorry, I just had an image of in VR you like shoving your hand into the air current. No, I was picturing it that like as soon as your hand hits one of these air currents, it just goes ragdoll and doesn't follow like your tracker anymore, and so it's just like just flapping in the wind. It's like, okay, well that wind's going that way. But no, I think this is we set up some sort of conceit why there are these super strong wind currents that are dangerous, right? That you literally can't fight against. And so, yeah, it does come down to having to avoid them, having to get through an area, and maybe you've got ways to like redirect them or move them or whatever by I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Are they invisible creatures constantly blowing out things, or is it actually like wind that, for whatever reason, comes through gaps and makes its way through? I don't know.
Or is it actually one of these things where you don't actually realize, but it is literally a vacuum that is being, it's sucking these things out? Like,
it could be that too. Yeah.
So it's not actually something blowing, it's something that's sucking it towards it, and you've been moving towards it the entire time. So now you got to sort of grab onto something until you can dislodge a panel.
I do like that in VR of having to grab onto something to avoid being pulled away, especially once they start getting stronger down the line and you're literally like going horizontal.
Well, why couldn't you make it horizontal straight away? Like, it's effectively in the thing, it's just down. Like, you kind of
that could be disconcerting. I was more thinking kind of the way like something like Lone Echo does it, where you can kind of see your body like floating behind you as you move in certain directions, the way that works. But I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
could make work.
Either way, I just love the idea of, VR and playing around with things in space, and
well, particularly with a really good like smoke powder sim. Like, you could do it okay, but you probably couldn't do it like in a really intense way on current hardware. But I'm sort of thinking a couple generations down the line of full on smoke particle simulations where you can throw that up and you get the really nice little like smoky eddies and little vortices and things going through. That'd be cool. All right.
Localized noise that just sort of occurs only in one part of it. And
again, like, imagine being able to, if there are invisible objects as well that you can find by throwing dust into the wind stream and seeing how it essentially like bends around that object. Like, I'm picturing, those like airflow diagrams around a wing or something.
One of my favorite things to do is, say, when I'm actually in the shower and I look up at the heater globe that we've got, you can see like the steam in the air, and you just sort of, you blow out and you see all the
exactly,
the noise patterns and all that sort of stuff in it.
Yeah.
Just looks amazing. Imagine if you could get that into VR, how cool that would actually be.
Yeah, it detects when you blow with the microphone, and
why not?
Yeah.
It detects when you wave your arm, because if you wave your arm a little bit... then
God. Yeah, you're literally full-on simulating just air pressure constantly around you at all times. Love it.
100%. I mean, that's how, like, this simulation works, isn't it? So
the simulation we live in.
The simulation that we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why can't that be in VR? And then that really becomes virtual reality.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that we're already
We live in a virtual reality, and we want to use virtual reality within our virtual reality. Yeah,
we're at least 2 simulations deep at this point, so... I mean, no reason.
I want to go deeper.
Yeah, no reason we can't.
I want that time dilation to really happen. So I live longer down there. It's Inception rules, and then when I came back up, I live a little bit longer here, and then I go back up again, and I live. Or is it
what is it? Roy, the game? Is that the game they play in Rick and Morty?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, a bit like that. Go in there, play an entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Trevor.
Ben, what 3 words?
No, I want to keep going and talking about Rick and Morty. No, I'm just kidding. Waterfall pioneered bunks. So I went to some sort of like settlement behind a waterfall.
Okay. Yep.
With Pioneer, so like maybe exploring a new planet or area of a planet.
I like that. Ooh, maybe the rain on this planet is like fully acidic. So we can't actually be out in it, and we found this cave sort of behind a waterfall, and we realized that the only way forward is to go deeper.
Wait, so the waterfall itself is acidic, like all the water on this, or is it just that...
It's more the rain itself.
So it's been diluted at least by the
It's been diluted in the... But like the waterfall's fine, but to actually go further and to explore this planet further, you need to go deeper into the caves. But the only fresh water is the diluted...
is the waterfall. Okay,
is the waterfall, so you're sort of coming back to that.
All right. I mean, my mind goes to a... like an oxygen not included kind of or a Don't Starve sort of survival-ish building game
Mm-hmm.
where you're like digging out these caves or building stuff in these caves and having to utilize that water that you can only get from that one spot and figure out your systems of making sure that as you go deeper, you've still got access to water. Whether that's by building pipe systems or containers or different things.
I like the idea of actually, but you have to actually sort of carve the channel. So you're carving the channel into each room, and then you need a separate waste disposal channel that the poop channel that you're carving out.
Channel. Yeah.
You want to keep them separated because you don't want that poop channel and the water channel sort of mixing.
Until you do. There are special, like once you get to the sort of higher levels in the tech tree, there are techniques where you do want those to mix. Because you need some slightly diluted feces.
It helps getting it further down the channel because it sort of gets all.
I do like the idea of of maybe VR again, just because for how this would work, where it is around liquid systems in that way. But you've got this deformable cave world, essentially, where you are able to, dig out channels and eventually maybe maybe down the line you get, pipes and different things that you can embed
so you
into
can
the
pressurize
walls
and do all that sort of stuff, and you can get it uphill as well as downhill.
Yeah.
So I used to work for Yarra Valley Water, and I dealt with maps and different things of we had the Melbourne water maps of showing where all the main water pipes were, and then the way it works in each street is actually amazing.
So you
never really thought about this.
You knew exactly how to poison the populace, and that's why everyone got sick. And you're the one who spread COVID. Oh shit! I wasn't supposed to put that on air. Sorry, cut Trev. Just remember, cut that last bit.
Yeah, so it turns out that, obviously water is highly pressurized.
Yeah.
But it's very rare to pressurize the waste.
Right.
Normally, you just let that flow downhill.
Yep.
And you pressurize as the least amount possible, because pressurizing waste costs a lot more to do than pressurizing water.
Well, and probably gets a lot messier when you get a leak or a pipe breakage or anything like that.
Exactly. So they don't really want to do that. So the way that waste actually works is totally different to how water pipes work. So you could just imagine then
are we implying then that in this game you've got a poop meter and you need to defecate?
No, it's more around you've got clean water and wastewater.
Okay. You're not talking about having to drop turds into a channel and watch it fall away. You got to put that in as an Easter egg though, with the nice water physics, have it bobbing along.
Oh yuck! What I'm thinking more about is the fact of having to actually worry about how each of the rooms along the way they need fresh water in, and then you can do some sort of plumbing.
You're essentially creating all these mini aqueducts through your cave system, and then potentially we're going to dam it up here, and make sure that because this room needs a certain supply of water at all times, more than the flow rate coming in, essentially. And so,
but I think what it comes down to is that the waterfall can only supply so many people. So as your group grows, you may need to find another water source.
Yeah,
and that may be that you go for rain catching, but you use, certain things to clean out the acid.
To purify it. Yeah. Well, I think by then you're far enough down your tech tree that now you can build, things that catch the water, pipe it down, run it through purification things. Again, now you've got essentially pure acid that you have to dispose of somehow.
Exactly. Kind of like in your satisfactory builds where you've got, waste products later on in the way that you need to get rid of. Mm-hmm. Well, you start off with a waste product, which is literally human waste. And then, it's pioneer waste.
We're not gonna get specific on species here.
No.
Who knows?
Pioneer waste. And then you've got water and clean water that you need to deal with. And I'm thinking it's all about your Sims kind of thing of building out your base, but it's also you're having to look after all these other people. You're not just dealing with yourself. It's a survival game for a team. That basically you've got
AI controlled.
AI controlled. You've got a colony that you're.
Well, because yes, definitely. And I think again, like first person or VR will be fun here. Which is an interesting.
I'm thinking the destruction physics of like your Deep Rock Galactic sort of thing that you can, use your pickaxe to.
Oh yeah, well, I was thinking even somewhat more subtle, like more precise, more precise. No, I was thinking more precise than that, where you almost are initially like scooping out these channels, like you're able to kind of. Whether it's just you've got some sort of drilling device.
Oh yeah,
or
I'm
whatever.
talking about for building the rooms on the side of these caves.
Oh yeah,
you're sort of doing that, and then you can just lay down. I want a channel here, so you can sort of like start where the channel's going and to where it's going. How far down the road it needs to actually go.
Yeah. Well, I think eventually you get to the point where you can build them that like straight and efficiently. But I think initially you're literally just like. You've got your little rock scooper or something, and you're having to manually pull like
your
draw the line.
Just
yeah, sort of. But then you've got your other pioneers wandering around AI controlled, and they're clones or something. They don't quite have the intelligence you have. And the reason I say that is if you don't provide them with enough places to defecate, like if it fills up, you'll find out when you notice. Your like clean water supply has just like changed color, and gummed up all your pipes, and you have to go through. And the crazy
thing is, it's only the people after number 23,
after clone 23,
after number 23. So all the top is fine because water just flows in one direction. So it's you find out. Oh, look, it's overflowing. Obviously at number 23.
I see what you're saying. Yes,
and so everyone from then on. Is sick with diphtheria or whatever.
Yeah, that's it. You have to. You need to pinpoint the source of the contamination by. Yeah, you can go back up through your whole water systems there and figure out where it's clean up to. And yeah, that's a fun mechanic to have to do that. And
yeah,
and I quite like the.
You get to a certain point and you see the turd floating, and it's sort of like and then you need to put gloves on, and you need to actually. Reach in and...
Well, I think you give them like a vacuum device of some sort that they can then like expel it into the purification device.
That makes sense.
Yeah. No, I quite like the idea of a first-person base builder like that. I feel like forcing them into first person in that way is a bit of a different challenge.
City planning is a lot harder because you can't quite see, how far did you dig? Oh, you digged into Mrs. O'Hanlon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think,
again,
further down the tech tree, I think you
straight into a shower. No, you didn't want to see that.
I think further down the tech tree, you get like, again, devices for, what would you call it? I don't know. I've lost the word, but like detection devices where you can see, where's the closest cavity on the other side of this wall, essentially? Or is there a cavity within, 3 meters of this wall? So you can know where to build to. But yes, when
effectively like your stud finder sort of thing.
Yeah,
You can pull out a thing and sort of put it on the wall and go, oh, there's a blank space behind here in 3 meters. So,
or like a visualization on a screen, right? Where it's essentially doing some sort of like
depth
analysis of, there's a cavity, this far behind. But yes, in your early days, you're very likely to break into the lodgings of your other pioneers.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really fix it until you develop,
Unless you fill those cavities, no, you can't fix it.
No, and that brings us to the real villain of the piece, the dentists. Yeah.
It turns out that they've been putting these cavities in these rocks.
They weren't.
The crazy thing is, these rocks are literally like teeth of a humongous, gigantic.
That's the end game. That's the end game. You find out that this world you've been living on. The reason that the rain is so acidic is it's saliva.
Stomach acid.
It's saliva and stomach acid, and you've been inside this creature's mouth this entire time.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, Trev, what 3 words you got?
Tried. Taster. Ladybug.
I tried to taste a ladybug. Weren't good. Okay, try and taste a ladybug. Is this some sort of cooking game? with whimsical sort of ingredients, right?
Okay. So in a fantastical world where insects and all this sort of stuff, they're so abundant that they've become the new food source.
Yeah, I'm kind of picturing having to like go out with your little insect catcher to get your ingredients, come back and cook with them. Maybe you run like a cafe in this whimsical, otherworldly sort of place.
Yep. I'm seeing that ladybugs are almost the most revered sort of, they're like the king of the insect kingdom that, you know, you always want to, if you can find a ladybug, then you know that, you know.
They're a delicacy, right?
They're a delicacy. Like, yeah. You put those in there and they're kind of like pop rocks that they just explode in your mouth with flavor.
Totally. Yeah, you know, you can charge a lot more if you've got a ladybug in there.
Oh yeah. I mean, you crunch down. Once you crunch, you can't stop, sort of thing. Like,
once you crunch, you'll always munch. Okay. Is this the entire game, or is this more like a backdrop for a larger story?
Backdrop for a larger story. I kind of, I've been watching a few playthroughs of Bugsnax lately, and I like that idea of that sort of like sinister thing happening in the background.
Okay. I have been interested in Bugsnax. I haven't picked it up yet.
Neither have I. But I've been watching a couple of playthroughs, not all the way through, just getting the idea of the game. You get the idea that there's something going on in the background, and I can't wait to actually get it. So I've kind of stopped now, but I like the idea of, you know, just something slightly otherworldly going on within this world. These bugs can be bigger. Like, ladybugs can be kind of, you know.
Well, maybe it is that you start finding larger and larger bugs or something. Like, the bugs start changing. Like, initially, they're sort of fairly standard. I mean, I think, you know, just for the scale of the game, they'd probably have to be larger than actual ladybugs, because you wouldn't actually be able to see them. They'd be like a pixel high.
Yeah. Oh, look at that red pixel. That's such a cute ladybug. Bring it right up to the eye. Oh, yep.
Oh, yep. Now it's 2 pixels. But yeah, they start like, you start catching larger ones or different species or something, and until eventually, like, with the goal being that you find out, oh, they're sentient and you've been eating them, and now they're actually at war with you and have been for some time. You just hadn't noticed.
Yeah.
Because they were tiny.
It's when they send, like, the Huntsman in, and you know, they're literally going out and literally hunting men. It's kind of scary, because once the ladybugs got to sort of dog-sized, well, those huntsmen, they were kind of
oh
like,
my God. I just had an image of like a knock at the door, and then those huntsman legs like coming around the door frame of the door. And you know, anyone in Australia knows what I'm talking about if you just see like 4 huntsman spider legs coming over the edge of something, but like human-sized coming around the door frame.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but then I'm just imagining that you open the door and it's got like a hat on, and it's like, oh, what's going on here?
Oh, yeah, exactly. No, I think they're a bit darker. I think they're like the broody, like, warriors, right? Because they are the huntsmen. But I'm thinking they're almost like these broody, dark-eyed. They do have a hat still, but it's more like an what's that? Oh, what's the cock hat? Isn't it called? Do you know what I mean? King Graham. We looked it up in a previous episode.
Yeah. It's got the feather and the cap and
yeah. Bicocket. It's a bicocket, and you got to cock in it somewhere. Anyway, I just derailed the whole thing, but yes, the huntsman wears a bicocket hat.
All of that for like.
Oh, all of that for a word with cock in it. I mean, it's not even that funny. All right. Are we moving on? Did I kill it?
Well, no. You haven't killed it. No.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So what is the end goal? What do these insects actually want from the humans?
I mean, it could maybe go either way. Like, they either want a truce where they like stop fucking killing and eating us.
And stop fucking the world.
Or they want genocide. I mean,
there's a hell of a lot more of them.
they're fighting back for their survival, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it could go pretty dark. I do like the idea of it. And, we play with this sort of juxtaposition a lot, but starting off as this whimsical thing where you're hunting these bugs and serving up smoothies and other manner of eateries to whimsical, interesting people as they come in. And then, the bugs start getting bigger and you start getting visits from the Huntsman and eventually it's all out war.
Yep. You know that when the Black Widows turn up, that the Avengers can't be too far behind. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you've got your...
Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, your Spider-Man. I can't think of any insect puns for the other Avengers. It's... Well,
Ant-Man.
I mean, Ant-Man. There are a couple of insect-based ones already, but...
Come on, dude. I've come up with like 3.
Those weren't puns.
4 of them.
They were just insect-related things that are already insect-related. I wanted a good,
You were thinking Captain America and Scarlet Witch and...
Yeah. I was like, Captain Bug America. That's not the one, but you know what I mean. Anyway. My pun gland.
The Incredible Hulk, but he's a dung beetle.
Yeah.
Because he can really, get angry and green.
His shits are huge.
3 click.
Heist. Clowns. Sweetness.
Clowns heisting a sugar factory.
Yeah.
What are they trying to do? Are they trying to put real sugar back in it because this is an artificial sweetener sort of factory?
Back into the into the factory.
So the whole idea of the heist is to stop all the artificial sweeteners and bring back good old fashioned.
I mean, that just leads us to dentists again.
You stole my ending for the game.
No, what I was thinking, because heist and clowns already, the whole thing with clown masks during a heist is kind of cliched. But I kind of like the idea of clowns, of a heist team that does dress as clowns, but they do it in a sweet way. So maybe they they come in with the balloon Tommy gun and they spray water. No, I guess I was thinking that it's more of they create distractions with their clowning while the heist is going on or something. Or...
This could be quite interesting. Clowns, when they're at work, they wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
So when they go heisting, they wear no makeup and they heist as normal people because people can't see them because they're always in makeup.
It's the whole Bruce Wayne is the mask thing.
Yes,
when Batman's
exactly.
the real person. Okay. I mean, there is a sort of thing around clowns of taking their persona that seriously.
Yeah. So then when they're heisting, they're very much very neutral.
Yeah.
But then occasionally if they get angry, then they,
they give away some of their...
And
yeah, they've got Bingo Boingo has his signature giggle.
Water seltzer, water flower and all that sort of stuff.
The cops are like, the way that he's holding that gun, he's holding it like a seltzer bottle.
It is a seltzer bottle. Quick, get him.
Get him. That scarf isn't ending. That's not one handkerchief, it's 37 in a row.
If you didn't say it, I would have.
No, I like that idea of the because now I'm just picturing the serious planning scenes where they're all in their makeup because they're themselves.
Yes,
and then the montage of them getting ready and solemnly taking off all their makeup.
Or do they put on makeup and it's they look like normal humans because they're putting on makeup
over their other makeup?
Well, it turns out that whenever they, wipe off the makeup, that's just their face. They look like clowns because...
Oh, they've got Krusty the Clown disease.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting twist.
Yeah. They're clowns from outer space and they dress up as
heist clowns from outer space. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I could get behind that kind of cheesy, lean into the cheesiness of it.
Yeah.
They're clown-looking aliens putting on human makeup.
Mm. And that's why, it's very easy for them to slip back into, their clown personas because they literally are clowns.
So are there like mini games of clowning that you have to do in between, and you have to do them well enough to not be suspicious or something?
No, I think what it is as you get hurt, your health meter is how clowny you're going. Like, and you need to sort of like be able to,
oh God, I'm
yourself.
70% clown. I need to find a makeup packet. You're like, that's your health. is like concealer and I don't know, foundation, other things. All right, I think give me some words, Joe.
Slinging reputable florists.
Reputable florists. All right. I think this is an action-based bouquet making game.
Oh, okay. Picture this. It's Valentine's Day Eve, and you've realized that you've overslept and you now need to get, like, all these bouquets done, and they're all individualized. So it's all about, you're in a co-op game, sort of like, you're trying to do things, and it's like, oh, I need some of the pansies over there, and so your other friend has to pick them up and throw them over to you, and you've got to catch them and put them down there, but they're also going, well, I need some of the lavender, and so you have to throw it over.
Yeah, so kind of an
Overcooked
style setup, but are you thinking VR? I feel like throwing
VR,
yeah, throwing flowers and stuff. Yeah, I like that. Do you have how do you then mix it up? Because obviously starting with just like you're on one side, they're on the other side, and you've each got access to certain flowers that you need to like mix and match. What else do you bring in there? Do you bring in? You have to like start swatting away bees and stuff if you're using certain flowers. So like put those in later. Like the order that you create the bouquet matters.
It's a random chance whether you happen to be a person who's allergic to some, or you get really, really bad hay fever. So you got to occasionally go wash out your eyes and all this sort of stuff. So you've got kind of like your hay fever meter. Well, you could just make that
a general, like, I mean, someone working with that much pollen, might get sinus issues in general. So yes, having to like go to the sinus flushing station, get your little neti pot. You have to physically use the neti pot and pour it up one nostril. It's a custom peripheral.
And it's an actual, yeah. Neti pot, and it comes with like a little pan that you can put underneath, and it's like, yep, just do that.
It's really hard in VR to see where that water's actually going, but there are sensors in that neti pot peripheral.
Yep.
It's a big part of the gameplay.
But not the pan. So you've just got to know where the pan is and sort of get that in the right position. But at least the neti pot,
it detects the flow through and how much mucus is on the end of it. So you know that you can't just pour it out.
Yep.
It's been a while since we've thrown a custom peripheral in there. Okay.
There's custom peripherals.
That one was one of mine. And then do you have the customers coming? Like, do you have to like... Is it sort of that kind of restaurant sort of style thing where it's like...
I'm not sure whether you got customers. I think maybe you've got like Uber drivers.
Delivery people, yeah.
Delivery drivers sort of thing that, X number of bouquets need to be ready for when this delivery person turns up.
Well, and maybe it's around like the areas that they get, like the direction they're going in or something. Like you won't make the players memorize the map, but you can... that like, oh, this one's going to the northeast, this one's going to the north, and that sort of thing. And then the driver's like, I'm heading northeast or whatever. It's like, oh, here, take these ones because that's going to be the most efficient way. And if you give them too many other ones, then they just take longer before they come back, and you can't get the rest of them delivered in time.
Yep.
That's cool.
It is cool.
All right. But I don't know that there's much else there. So, flying fantasy defective.
So fantasy flying that's like defective.
Well, or someone having a flying like I'm sort of picturing someone who dreams that they're flying. Like, is this around a dream world in some way? But at certain points, it's just like, oh shit, no, I'm falling. It's not working anymore. Get back into the dream. No, it could be around like in a fantasy world. The flying machines that would come out of that. Weird dirigibles and. Helicopter type gyroscopy devices and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends on what you're using them for.
I mean, I don't know why, but my brain keeps on going to something like an Angry Birds-esque sort of thing where, like, the birds in that game literally have no flight anymore. That's why you need the slingshot to fire them. I kind of like the idea that flight is so early in its development here that like the scientists literally can't get it right.
I do like the idea then of in a kind of Angry Birds / like bridge constructor sort of way where you have these pieces that you can use to put together these flying machines in a variety of different, in endless combinations.
Mm-hmm.
But then, the goal every sort of level is to knock something down or break something or get it through the hole at the other end or whatever, or get it to travel far enough or something. And so it's really the challenge of putting these, like rubber band based engines onto propellers and also making the structure strong enough but light enough and that sort of thing. And it's simulating the actual forces. Because then you get the fun of watching them hit the ground and break into pieces.
That's kind of cool.
Well, tell me what you got, Trevor.
Opposites. Domestic. Ramparts.
Okay.
So, because of ramparts, I'm seeing castle.
Yes. I'm
is
picturing
this a king and queen?
Well, I guess that's where domestic. I definitely thought of neighbors in a suburb having some sort of like dispute between them and literally like building up castle walls and ramparts and different things. Some sort of suburban war between them. What was the other word?
Opposites.
Opposites. Yeah, I guess I was picturing like over a fence or something. Opposite sides of a fence. Right, tell me.
Okay.
Did you have something else in mind though?
My idea was set within a kingdom.
Okay.
Ramparts, I just took castle. I don't care too much about that word. Maybe it's on the outskirts of this castle.
Mm-hmm.
In like another land, we don't have to go with like, medieval or anything or traditional and that sort of stuff. I just like the idea of this massive kingdom, and outside, like you got the moat, and then outside you've got like this, these two towns on either side of the castle.
Okay.
And I'm kind of almost seeing that's where you could have like a sort of Romeo and Juliet sort of thing happening. One member from one town, one member from another town. They fall in love and they know that it's forbidden love sort of thing. Mm-hmm. That's where the opposites sort of get in, and there's basically like all these battles that are going on between the two towns.
I do like the idea of like a love story with the backdrop of these battles going on.
Yeah.
Since we're going into a different world anyway, should we exaggerate the differences? Like, are they different? Is one like an orc and one is a elf or something?
Human.
Screw
Your
humans.
sound card works perfectly.
There's enough stories about humans. Let's give some of the other fantasy races a turn. There are no humans in this story. Let's go as far as that. There are no humans.
What race is the king and what race is the queen? I kind of see.
And just to be clear, we're talking fantasy races.
Yes, I'm kind of thinking this is high elf, so that they're kind of all high and mighty and they live forever, and you know, basically, I'm picturing that. Their children are literally 20 years younger than them, but their children are 230 years old. So it's like they're getting to the point where it's just like, oh, come on, just. By the time that you're dead, I'm going to be dead in 20 years. Like, this just doesn't make sense.
Well, wait, are the star-crossed lovers royalty? Or are we talking?
I'm thinking this is the kingdom,
This is the kingdom.
Got the king and queen. And they're each of the towns are loyal to, maybe they're loyal to the king and one's loyal to the queen sort of thing. And that's where it starts off.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because I was thinking, okay, is this like a mixed race marriage, right? Like maybe the king is the high elf
and the queen is a drow elf.
Married, I think going further than that, I think
giant.
Married like a giant or like a dragonborn sort of thing, like almost where you get to the point of, can they even procreate? But they did. Or it could even be a situation where like, because of,
oh, I'm now getting the idea.
One of the two didn't actually have the longevity of the other, right? So
yeah,
their children.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
that like the king being an elf, Like, he's got hundreds of years, almost immortal.
Yeah.
This is his fifth wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and each time, he's got a thing for giants.
Well, or you said it after, like, because I liked the idea of the children being old as well. Like, they inherited the longevity from their father, but also they are half giant or half dragonborn, depending on which wife they were born to. So you've got kind of all these mixed race children gallivanting about, waiting for their dad to die so one of them can take over the kingdom. But again, this is all just the backdrop setting then to commoners from the villages. But yes, I think
I'm liking the idea that, basically one village is all sort of like elfish, all different races of elves, but effectively, it's sort of like they've been living a lot longer than the other side, and the other side are kind
every
of
time
like,
there's a new queen, there's a contingent that crops up because, yes, for whatever reason, all of the marriages are very combative.
Yep.
Because the king's an arsehole, basically.
Yeah. So I like that. You've got almost like the families that live a lot longer on the elf side, and then you've got all the families that die out really, really quickly on the other. Yeah. So basically,
but I love then the idea that, like, in the short-lived town, you've got people in there who obviously, they've gone through 6 generations or something, while the other side has gone through 1. And so there are, like, stories passed down generation to generation about specific people who are still alive. Yeah. On the other side.
Which I kind of love, because I also kind of like the idea that the technology is almost going a little bit faster on the side that people are dying because people are trying to create things and do something in their lifetime. Whereas on the other side, it's like they live so long that they're like, I'll get to it, and they procrastinate a lot. Like, I've got all the time in the world. Like, that's
definitely like a classic kind of dichotomy there between, often it is with humans and long-lived races or whatever in fantasy and stuff. But yes, I like that. Definitely giving them these different personality types across the towns. And so how do our star-crossed lovers meet? Is there some big battle going on, and they're both like hiding under a bridge?
Actually, kind of a bit creepy in the fact that, like, I think the elf? I don't know whether it's a prince or whether it's just like the elf of
I like staying away from that. Yeah, I like having
son of the mayor sort of thing. Meets, like, he's only 20 years old in elf years, and he meets this young maiden.
Yeah.
From like one of the other races. Yeah. And, it's like 500 years later, or, however long it is, and he's now met, like, an almost exact duplicate of this maiden.
And it's their, like, great-great-granddaughter or something?
Probably even more great-great-great-great-great. So many things down. I think one of the things I would like to see happen... As long as that's
not his own child.
No. I think... Well, because, again, elves just procrastinate because they think they've got all the time in the world to get to that.
Right. So essentially, like... essentially, he ghosted her, thinking, I'll call her, I've got to give her a bit of time, otherwise she'll think I'm too keen. And then when he went to find her again, she died, like, 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was 80-something at the time. So he literally left it stewing for, X number of years, because when you've lived so long, it doesn't really, like, time doesn't really matter to you.
Totally. Yeah, exactly.
I like the idea that eventually what he's going to do is he's actually going to give up his long life to enjoy a life with with her. And then he starts, actually appreciating all the world for sort of what it is, whereas on the other side you can sort of see that the animosity is actually from the short-lived races who see the elves that are just wasting their years. If they have those years, they feel that, like, they could do so much more.
I think with the compounding effect of verbal communication generation by generation as well, that there's just this deep-seated hatred of that side because all of the things that they've done, even if they're like small slights or full-on wars, you don't know, like they all become these huge things and reasons for this side to hate the other side and pass that down.
It's literally a 200-year version of telephone.
Yeah, exactly. And they could just go and talk to the people who were literally involved to clear it up, but, but
even then, like, they're so lazy, they're like, I'll get to it in 20 years.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Like, I was just talking about it last week. You talked to my ancestor 300 years ago. I was like, oh, yeah, whatever. There's just something about having, like, because you've had the same king throughout all these years of these people. And of course, for the elves, it's just normal. Like, this is just a term limit sort of thing. What's a 300 year term
they haven't
limit?
reached a 1,000-year term limit. What are you complaining about?
Yeah. I mean, before that, I remember the previous king.
He was a dick. This guy's way better.
This one's way better. He basically, he let us have a weekend. The other one didn't. It's the only thing that he's achieved in all this time. It's like, you can have one day, and that's the weekend.
Yep. And the rest of the time, do
the
elves work?
That the way that the elves work is 1 year or 1 week is a year in other people's terms. Like, so they get 1 day at the end of the work week. But they don't notice.
It just feels like a normal time for them. Although I think that's kind of going against, because if they're working that whole time, that would feel like they're very productive. Are they just like, I guess are they spending, 4 months at the water cooler discussing last year's wars?
Yeah.
Okay, so I like this. I like the setting. I like the general ideas. I like that giving up the long life to appreciate the blah, blah, blah. What sort of game is this? How are we presenting this to the player? And who are you playing? Or is it like switch back and forth maybe, get both perspectives?
Yeah, no, I kind of like the idea that you maybe play the elf who met the young maiden and then decided to wait a little bit longer just in the prologue and that sort of stuff, and now it's like 200 years later or whatever.
I like giving the player that option. Of like, you show them meeting the other person and they have a great time, you sort of show that off, and then it's go back and you give them the option of like, call them or wait. And if they choose wait, then it's like, no, they're dead. You waited too long. And if you choose call them,
you choose to wait a reasonable time. In elf time, that's 200 years.
Yeah.
I guess you'll just have to wait until you find someone else.
If you do choose to call them, then you do go to like find them, but your best mate like grabs you and just wants to have a bit of a chinwag, and then they're dead. They took too long. So
it was a 40-year chinwag. That's okay.
Yeah, it's just like a quick chat. Just a quick chat.
So I'm thinking the type of game is actually like it's actually like a what's it called, adventure game, but effectively every action that you do until you meet up with this person, like an action that you do could take a day.
Like time passes, yeah.
Time passes,
choosing, yeah.
And I'm just imagining that you're talking to these people who don't sort of live as long as you do. And you're sort of telling them to do something, and then you come back, and it's like they've aged up quite a fair bit. Like they seem to just
did
move
build that
fast.
wall. They did build that wall you asked them to build, and now it's
really
overgrown.
quickly.
It's overgrown and it's falling to pieces. So, like, what shoddy work? When actually, like, they built a really solid wall and it lasted for 250 years and then fell down. But you didn't check in on that time.
You're procrastinating for 200 of those years.
Yeah. It's like, I'll check it tomorrow.
I'm kind of wondering whether to people who are moving really, really, like who age a lot faster, well, go have a lot shorter lifespans, whether to them the elves almost look stone-like.
Interesting.
Like they move so slow. That's how they live. How they live so long.
How do,
I'm I know it's kind of taking it a different way.
Well, I was just like, how do they have that relationship then?
When, like, maybe when this, mayor's son or whatever meets up with his girl, like, with his partner, time seems just, like, they seem to actually be able to collate, talk in the same time. And then when he disconnects, like, everything moves fine for him, but, she just instantly sort of grows older quickly and all this sort of stuff. I don't know. There's something that you could do there. And
yeah. Maybe
many different ideas.
Maybe they're basically pen pals. For him, it's like one conversation. As soon as he finishes talking, he like waits a second and there's another note there. But she's coming back like a week later to see what he's written and replying. So she's having this relationship with him over years and years, and for him, it's like one conversation.
Yeah. That's just gone well off the rails. Ben, what are your last 3 words for the day?
Unlatch. Astronomy drivers.
Astronomy drivers. So is the only way that Google Maps works in this world by the constellations, so that you're having to actually drive based off of like, okay, you got to go towards the Southern Cross for X number of kilometers, and then you
just completely star-driven navigation.
Yep.
I was thinking maybe, because I saw astronomy, and obviously that's, the study of space, but maybe I was thinking setting it in space, because then unlatch has more
some really horrible connotations of, I'm going to unlatch the airlock. Would you like to step inside? Yeah,
well, something around that. So maybe you're on like a space telescope of some sort, as in like an orbiting telescope that's there to study, deep space.
My mind just went to, instead of the Hubble telescope, it went to the Humble telescope, because it's sponsored by Humble Bundle.
The Humble Bundles have got so popular, they've raised so much money that they sponsored the construction of a new telescope, and all their ads are now like, discover new planets worth of gameplay with our 9 games this month. I feel like we've done too many games set like on a space station where weird shit happens, so maybe we go a bit more arcadey with this or something. Like, is this around like driving different parts of the telescope around the orbit to like connect them up and latch them on or unlatch them, like having different sort of segments of a space station that do different things, and you have to connect them up in different ways or something.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see how that would actually work in a sense.
I don't know. Oh, maybe it's a bit of like, maybe it's that regular human basketball lovers in a dangerous space-time style thing where you're moving these chunks of space station around in some sort of coordinated fashion where you have to like press the buttons to move them, and you're trying to essentially construct a full space station, but
yep.
If you don't get to the thrusters fast enough, then it's gonna like start burning up because it's losing its orbit and that sort of thing.
So when you do this and you're trying to like connect enough stuff up to get the telescope into the right position to then therefore be able to hit the constellation.
Something like that, yeah. You could have multiple goals. That could just be one of the goals, but yeah.
But then when you see it from down on Earth and you see enough points that are actually, almost make a constellation that is now visible from Earth because it's now a space station that sort of goes across.
The space station itself is in the right position to be a constellation. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's basically your power points along the way that sort of make up like bright enough points that people on the planet think that it's actually a new star that's actually turned up.
So are you trying to like influence the people on the planet by creating
I think
new constellations?
It could be an adverse effect in the fact that, you've come here to analyze the planet, but also sort of see what sort of star systems you can sort of see from here, and are there any bright bright stars that actually show up as constellation sort of things. And you've got kind of like a first contact sort of thing happening down on the planet at the same time.
I do like the idea of the first contact thing where I'm kind of picturing it as you have the main game, which is like building the space station and you're controlling the pieces to get into position. And, they're going to end up in some wacky configurations, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then once you're done, now you see it from the people, like the aliens' perspective, essentially, on this planet, looking up and seeing this new thing in their sky and going, ooh, and like, I don't know, use some nice AI to make a shape out of it, like to map it to the shape of an animal or something. It's like, you created the
Ursa Major.
the meerkat constellation. They called it the meerkat constellation. Congratulations.
They call this one the bare ass because it looks like
two cheeks. They call this one Professor Whiskers.
Meow.
I don't know.
They call this one Man.
It's just a man we murdered. I don't know. I feel like there's something fun there with like building space stations from inside and having to connect them up. Hit the button to like put the airlock out to connect to the other bits, and just wherever it connects, you end up having these. I'm just loving the idea of the final product of these things being this fucking mishmash of different pieces. But if it works, it works.
And what it's all about is being able to get that slightly different position for the telescope in this case.
Well, I think you're just having to. Yeah, you've got a goal of each one, and it's how you can maneuver these pieces into place to, whether it's the telescope has to be pointing in the right direction or able to point in the right direction, because it's like, we attached the booster rocket module onto the space station, but it was at a weird angle, so we can't actually like line it up without putting another one on the other side or something.
If you put it there, then the stress is too great and it just snaps off.
You put them at exactly. You put them at like opposite stress points or whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I think that's about it.
All right, I think we'll finish it up there tonight. So if you want to find us online, you can go to podchaser.com/bitstorm and check out all our previous episodes. Leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. Do that.
Also, we'd like to thank Kuridos for the use of the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right, so thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
Knock, knock, knock.
Who's there?
It's the Huntsman. With my bike cocket.